350, and with me today I have Elizabeth Peyton-Jones. Hi Elizabeth.
Hi there, Kerry.
Now I understand you're the author of a fabulous book called Eat Yourself Young.
Yes, that's right. It's taken everybody a bit by surprise, I think.
So what does Eat Yourself Young actually mean, and can we actually eat ourselves young?
Well, we can. It's all rather extraordinary, isn't it? But you can actually eat yourself young. The foods that you feed yourself can either rejuvenate you, or unfortunately, they can make you feel quite ill and sluggish,
Right.
and they can change your skin to make it look sort of old and wrinkly. So, yes, absolutely, food is very powerful and it can make you look young.
So which are the foods that we should be avoiding then that perhaps don't make us look young and do help us feel sort of sluggish and lethargic and create those wrinkles in our skin? Which are the ones that we shouldn't be eating?
Well, I put them in my book, so of course you can read them in my book. But the ones that are the most aging really are the bad fats. I mean, I say five in my book,
Okay.
and they're the bad fats, salt, sugar, which absolutely everybody knows is a huge no-no. You know, dairy is obviously hugely affects everybody, and it's overconsumed as well.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. And meat, unfortunately,
Is that all
red
meat?
meat.
Is it just mostly red meat, or
It's red meat, it's processed meats, you know, it's the ones that have the high fat in it. I mean, there are statistics out there which say that if you eat 50 grams of meat a day, that you are one-fifth more likely to get cancer.
right?
You
That's a
know,
bit scary, isn't it?
yeah, it is. You know, and women, unfortunately, who eat consume a lot of meat, actually have more signs of osteoporosis.
Right.
So I know everybody eats it for protein and they think it's going to do their bones some good. But unfortunately, because of the acidic effect, you know, unfortunately, it is not so good for us and it does cause aging.
Now you mentioned in your book, you said that the foods that we should be eating are those which have an anti-inflammatory or you mentioned acidity then, or an alkaline influence on our bodies. So what sorts of food groups are included in those?
Sorry, I didn't hear you very well. Is that the
Oh,
alkaline you said?
yeah, alkaline. Yeah, alkaline and anti-inflammatory you mentioned in your book. So those are the sorts of foods we should be looking for, and what sorts of foods are actually in those two categories that we should be eating more of?
Well, alkalizing and inflammation really are the two main areas that everybody should be very vigilant about if they're going to stay youthful. And the reason being that inflammation in your body is basically an immune reaction. And normally, when we're eating things that we're slightly intolerant to, what will happen is our bodies will create an inflammation. And if this inflammation isn't switched off,
Right,
what we get is we get our immune system actually attacking ourselves, which can then lead to an autoimmune disease.
right.
But besides all of that, it can actually lead to obviously wrinkles and dryness and sort of like mucus and you know all the other horrible things you get when you when you have inflammatory response. And the way to get rid of it is to eat things like ginger. Turmeric is absolutely completely amazing and should be put in everything. It's also staying away from the foods that are causing the inflammation.
Right.
So, you know, you can go on an elimination diet and find out what it is causing it, or you can eliminate all the baddies that are in my book, which are just the five obvious. So that's inflammation.
All right. And with your book, I mean, we hear so much about baddie diets, don't we? There seems to be the latest craze. I mean, I guess this year it's been very much the 5-2 diet. The previous couple of years it was the Dukan diet. Is your diet something which is sort of something for the short term, or is it something which is more of a longer term eating plan?
It's 100% long-term eating plan. It is
Right.
not fatty, and I'm so glad you mentioned that because it's sort of a bugbear that I have because I think all these diets are making us really frightened of food, and actually food is not our enemy. You know, it really is there to help us. So I think when you starve yourself, it creates a sort of like a really bad association to food. And so mine is absolutely for life.
I know there's certain specific foods you can say are extra healthy for us.
Sorry?
Are there specific foods which are incredibly healthy and perhaps top of the list of youthful eating foods that we should be looking at?
Well, in my book, Eat Yourself Young, I've got the 5 most aging foods and the 5 most rejuvenating foods. And so if we were talking about anti-inflammatory before, then turmeric would be my greatest anti-inflammatory.
Right.
You know, I was talking about alkalizing, and in fact, lemon is the greatest alkalizer, which sounds like a bit of, you know, contradictory.
That is different. You'd think that would be quite acidic, wouldn't you?
Well, you see, it is acidic on when you put it onto something because it has enzymes in it and it's a citric acid. But as soon as it goes into the body, it becomes a citrate, which is an alkaline. So in fact, it's very, very alkalizing. So that's why, you know, naturopaths tend to say to you, get up in the morning, have your hot water and lemon, because that cleanses you, it alkalizes you, it detoxes you from the night, because during the night we detox. And then the alkalizing effect of the lemon in the morning cleans your liver and blood and gets us all going.
Right. Obviously I've heard that having the lemon in hot water spoken about many times, but I hadn't realised that was actually the reason why.
Yes.
So there you go.
That's because you see, between the hours of 11 and 1, we're actually detoxing, which is why sometimes when we're out at a party at 11 o'clock, you get really tired and you think, oh no, I don't think I can continue. But then you do. And at 1 o'clock, you get that like second wind and you're like, oh yeah, I could go all night now. Well, that's because the liver stopped detoxing.
All right.
So that's why people talk about the beauty sleep being before 11 o'clock, because you need to get to bed before 11 so the body can detox between 11 and 1.
Right.
So that it makes you beautiful.
Well, there you go. I'm obviously going to bed too late then. So, if somebody starts the Eat Yourself Young eating plan, how long would it be for them, A, to see a difference, and secondly, to feel a difference?
Well, it really depends. I mean, you know, I treat all sorts of people that have gone through all sorts of things, and some people look a lot older than they should do simply because of the circumstances they've been in. And if, let's say, you're in your 50s and you've never taken care of yourself and you have enormous amounts of stress, it will be showing on you. And as soon as you start this diet, really within 6-7 days, you can begin to see a difference. I mean, your skin really clears up, your eyes look brighter, and also you feel better. So you're actually responding differently to people. You're more excited, you're maybe laughing a little bit more, you know, and so it all works in your favor. And likewise, I mean, obviously, if you're in your 20s and you're looking glowing and beautiful, there isn't much difference in 5 or 6 days. But again, if you've been waking up and you've been feeling sluggish, you know, which happens to teenagers, if you feel that you're not on top of your form, you know, top of your game, you have that lack of concentration, what you find is you get your concentration back.
Right.
So it can work, but I mean, it depends where you're at.
So if
it works quickly.
But often I've been told if you start these sort of diets which are sort of eliminate the food you're used to having, you feel absolutely rotten for the first couple of days. What is it that makes you sort of keep, you know, getting through that initial, ooh, I feel dreadful mode, to get to the, you know, the sort of 3rd, 4th or 5th day when perhaps you start to feel a little bit better?
I know, because, you know, the mind plays terrible tricks on us. And as soon as it really, you know, and as soon as you're out of your comfort zone, it's really not feeling good, then there's all sorts of mechanisms that go into place that will sort of like trick you. So what I generally say is, you know, write down your goal, because it's your goal. It has to be really important to you. It's not about me or anybody else. It's about the person who's doing it. So if you're on this journey, work out what it is you're trying to get from it. And then every time, you know, you try and convince yourself otherwise, look at that piece of paper, you know, because you wrote down where you want to be. And so every time you try and convince yourself that you don't want to be there, you know, you can remember the promise you made to yourself. And it is a promise to yourself. It's something, the one good thing we do for ourselves. It's a commitment to us. So you can be really top of our game. And that's really what it's all about. So it's making yourself really important. How important am I? You know?
And for somebody who decides to take the plan, I'm going to just quickly show the book here. Somebody decides to go start this plan. Does it actually mean, do they have to eliminate all meat, or, you know, does it say, you know, does it make you have to become a vegetarian, or there are some meat, some fish allowed?
Yeah, I mean, it does sound very hardcore, doesn't it? I mean, I know The thing is, if you're, to be honest, if you're suffering from arthritis, okay, anything that itis is inflammation, so
Yeah.
arthritis, appendicitis, whatever it
Yeah,
might be.
colitis, yeah.
Exactly. So, if you're suffering from an inflammation which has gone on for a long, long time, then obviously you're looking at doing something fairly dramatic because your body is already in a fairly bad state. So yes, it means being quite hardcore, giving up everything for a while, let's
Right.
say anything depending on how severe you are, from 2 weeks to a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then gradually, introducing these things back into your diet. But generally, what I would say is red meat should only really be eaten once or twice a week,
Yeah.
not at every meal, which
Mm-hmm.
is sometimes what happens. Yes, fish is great for you. Obviously, the smaller the fish, the better, because it's less mercury, less toxins, etc. Everyone knows that omega oils are great for you. So, oily fish is fabulous. Plant food is very good for you. It's very low in fat. It's fantastic for cholesterol, high fiber, and there are all these reports out recently about fiber diet stopping heart disease and coronary heart attacks. So up your fiber content, and again, that's plant-based foods. And if you do that, then what you'll find is you get a good balance of fish, plant protein, yeah, and then your favorite meat every now and again as a treat.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good diet.
And also, I guess, as we're all living longer, we need to actually take more care of our diet, don't we? If we want to have our later years in life, be happy and productive years in life.
You're right, Kerry. I mean, people forget that even if they don't want to, modern medicine is going to make them live longer. So they're going to be like feeling like they don't want to be on this earth. But in fact, modern medicine is going to keep them there for quite a while. So if you want to live like super well, and be fantastic in your 80s and 90s, which is very, very possible. I mean, my father-in-law is 93 and he still drives and he's very, very active. It is possible to be that way. Then, yeah, you have to take care of yourself. You do.
I think
You
there's
really.
something like 1 in 6 or 1 in 7 women who turn 50 this year could well live to be 100, apparently. So that's a lot of years to have to sort of think about our diets and think about what the foods we're actually eating are doing to us, isn't it, really?
It is because you want a lot of energy to keep on going for the next 50 years or whatever it might be, and there's a lot you can do. I mean, they say you can have 3 professions in a lifetime. So, it's possible that you get to sort of 55 and think, you know what, I want to change. I want to do something completely different. And you learn a new skill or you do something different, and then off you go again. And it can sometimes be actually more fun the older you are because you're more confident, you've got more skills, you understand life more, your life journey seems more manageable. And so, in fact, your latter years can be amazing. And the only thing that really stops us is our health.
Yeah,
But the thing is, we are 100% in control of our health, 100%,
that's
and that's
lovely.
really, it's great, isn't it? Great.
It
You have
absolutely. It's just a simple thing about looking at the foods we're actually bringing into our lives and our bodies. That makes that much difference. So we can be that much more productive, happy, content, enthusiastic about life. Well, I'm all for it, really.
Yeah, absolutely, and it doesn't have to be difficult. The recipes in my book they don't take very long, and they're really delicious. And you just, I suppose, have to get over the few hurdle, which is a thought of sort of like maybe adding seaweed to some of your food, or cutting back on the salt, or using dried fruit instead of refined sugars and things like that. And once you've got over that little hurdle, in fact, food tastes delicious.
One of the things I've picked up in your book was you did say that because a lot of people think if you're eating sort of a very much plant-based food, organic is best. Because if you don't want to go to the expense of you can't find organic, you did mention there's which I hadn't heard of before, but there's a vegetable wash that you can buy.
Yes, there is a vegetable wash, and it's called vegetable wash.
Right.
It was in health food stores and things. I used to live in Russia, and I couldn't get hold of any organic foods there. And they had a lot of, because of Chernobyl and things like that, there was a lot of radioactivity, etc. And this sort of completely saved me. I would just wash all of my food in this fantastic wash, and I 100% recommend it.
Right.
It's very, very good stuff. And if you can't get hold of the organic foods, or they're too expensive, because let's face it, they are expensive,
Yeah.
that they are more nutritious for you, I have to say. But if you can't get a hold of them, then just wash your vegetables, especially, you know, root vegetables or leaf vegetables, you know, that have been sprayed on top. It's good for that.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing this with us today. I think it's given us all something to think about, because it's all under our own control. We can take responsibility for ourselves. And I look forward to giving the details also of your book to our readers as well. So they'll have the details of the book, and hopefully we'll all be able to eat ourselves young.
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
Let's go 2014.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elizabeth.
All right, take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.